All right, Lucas. So we have a continuation of our discussion on GameStop from last week. So last week, we were giving an update, checking in on what was going on with GameStop. A friend of mine who's going to be the stand-in for Charlie. I don't know exactly what episode this was from, but like whatever this crazy conspiracy theory stuff is. He's going to be our stand-in for Charlie on this episode. So just to set this up, last week there was significant price action on GameStop. So we saw earnings, price started going down, which usually happens. So we saw it rip up to 24 or something like that. And then because there was that at the money offering announcement, there was malaise, whatever, or maybe it was the the hedgies came in and drove the thing down, whatever. We went down to sub 20, and then there was price action that went up because there was 92 million shares or something purchased, and apparently there's a big thing that's happening on 9/20 with Cat Day or something. I don't know, Dan, fill us in here. What's really going on? So we were into the slow ass. What's the slow ass?
Yeah, we're calling it the slow ass MOASS because there's people who are angry about the dilution of the stock. They're saying that they've killed the MOASS twice now, and I'm of a different opinion. I think that he's raising the floor. He's raising the minimum so that it can't go below a certain level. If you buy a share of GameStop right now, yeah, half of it is cash. You're just buying cash and whatever the business is going to bring. So it's similar to Tesla in a way, except GameStop doesn't make cars or really anything right now, but they're acquiring billions in cash and they have a plan. So we talked about that a little bit more, and what's the plan? You feel like you want to know what the plan is, and I'm sure the hedge funds do too, so they can try to disrupt it. But I likened it to walking into a casino, seeing a guy there with like 4 chips and a pair of deuces, wandering over to the slot machines, coming back half an hour later, and he's got a pile of chips and he's not showing you his cards. You may not know what he's going to do next, but he's doing something right.
So this is what I was talking about. We were like sub 20 something after we had hit what we were up at like 24 bucks, and then this was like right around earnings and it went down. And then this was when there was that huge 92 million dollar purchase or whatever happened, what, on the 20th, right?
Yes. Yeah. So there's some sort of, if you look at the meme lore, like Roaring Kitty released, was it 110 memes or something back in May, which caused that initial, or, caused a lot of interest in the stock. And
Was that the like set of emojis that was the emoji timeline?
I'm not sure when that one came out. If anybody knows for sure, that's great. But we've been trying to track the events as they occur on the emoji timeline, and we think that we're after Dog Days. That's finished. So what's next? Is it beer or is it explosions? Um,
I also of the opinion that Ryan Cohen seems to have a better plan than just say ripping the rug out from underneath of some of these large institutional investors who were trying to kill GameStop and run away with their shorts. But in doing so, he is going to have to continue moving the ball because they are not static players. So I think what he's doing is very interesting in growing the bags, 1 billion, 5 billion. We've mentioned Berkshire Hathaway, possibilities that GameStop could be moving into. But if they hold on to their traditional model, I don't know that that's going to suit them.
Yeah, so where are we at? You're saying we're somewhere like this? Like fire or eyes or what?
Sorry, I can't see that on my screen. I'm gonna have to follow. Yeah, so the 920 thing is interesting because there's an alt account that has been posting on every International Cat Day at 920 for the last 3 years. Roaring Kitty has been silent for 3 years. Somebody made the connection. They think it's a Roaring Kitty alt account, Keith Gill alt account. And on September 20th at 9:20 a.m. Central Time, which is why some people missed it because they're looking at trading times on the East Coast. So it would have been 10:20 a.m. He purchased someone purchased $92 million worth of GameStop. So it was an order for 4.7 million shares at $19.70 a share.
That's what I've got on the screen right now, right? This is the 920 at 920 on 920 for $92 million. It's all
Right.
the 92s.
And if you look at the FTDs and when they have, because that order went right to the dark pool, if I'm not mistaken. So people saw it and it started building, pressure because of the volume, but it didn't immediately spike the price into MOASS territory. But 35 days, T plus 35 equals International Cat Day. So
this now we're at a Bible study studying Revelations.
yes, and
the book of GameStop.
Hey, did I not start this out by saying that we were gonna like have the the tinfoil hat on and we were gonna draw some weird stuff? I'm like, okay, this is what you got. But Lucas, you can't say that there's not something there, because like half of what happens with any of this meme stock stuff is it's all the magic numbers, it's all the sacred geometry, right? So half of these are 69s and 420s, and so seeing all these 920s like linked together, like, come on, this is how virtue signaling is done. And if it exactly lines up and lands us on International Cat Day, I don't know.
Well, and I'm not saying that you're not right. And I do think that that deep fucking value, Roaring Kitty, whatever we want to call him, is somewhat obsessive about some of these subtle obsessive, brilliant. But there's also multiple players here. There's Ryan Cohen, who is leading company. Roaring Kitty is sort of a faction of the investors who are playing their own game. So
it's, you have people that have deep conviction to the stock, right? So like Roaring Kitty is one of them. And I think last time we kind of ran down some of the malaise that's out there, some of the discontent, where if this at the money stuff keeps happening and it shuts down the MOASS, well, a lot of people are like, well, I didn't sign up for you to become the next Amazon, whatever. Like that wasn't what I was here for. I was here for phone number digit prices on stock. And if that's not happening, then I'm out. But what we're running down here is the other side of it, which is there seems to be some investors that have extremely deep conviction about what's going on at GameStop. So this is the other side of it, because if you look at stocks like Nvidia, right? Nvidia has had a significant amount of insider selling that has happened like consistently ever since the price started significantly going up. And I think also famously what Nancy Pelosi exited her positions on Nvidia to my recollection. So, you contrast that with GameStop, right? Where none of the insiders have really appreciably sold any stock during any of these run-ups, where it's been at these exorbitant prices where we've seen it spike up to $60 or whatever. Like, you just don't see the insiders selling off their shares. And in fact,
they buy more.
Yeah, and in fact, they're buying more. So we've actually seen insiders increasing their position on GameStop even through these dilutions. And now we see that somebody else very virtue signaling to the rest of the community that they're putting in another $100 million. This is pretty significant. I mean, it's a stark contrast with other companies where the insiders sell off pretty consistently.
And there are people that were saying there's a new documentary out, I guess, that's not favorable to people who are believers in this MOASS theory. It's basically saying GameStop is a cult. And I replied back to the guy on Twitter with a modified version of the Lord's Prayer to making fun of the whole thing. But there's definitely communications happening. It's nothing direct, nothing actionable. No one's, part of some secret cabal acting in unison. But I pay attention to Reddit and Twitter, and there's definitely subtext here. And people are, I think these memes are like,
we lost.
No, that's right. We got him back. So I think another part of this is there's this idea that GameStop is making a certain type of play. So another of the theories that's out there is that what GameStop is setting up is a play on taking over Amazon. So again, so we're in tinfoil hat territory here with over in Reddit land, where there's some crazy stuff. But this post is making a case for, like, why is GameStop like Tesla? Why is GameStop going to be like Amazon? What's really going on here? So, Dan, I think you were telling me a bit about this, that there are these companies that have been bankrupted, and
Seller
that,
boxed, yeah.
yeah.
So
So
they,
tell us a little bit about that.
well, so Mitt Romney and Bain Capital, they kind of were the first ones to use this technique where you get insiders in the company that are complicit. You get Boston Consulting Group, which is, there's been a lot of DD about those guys going in and giving bad advice to companies that drive them into the ground. And these short sellers keep shorting the company until the price goes into the pink sheets, and eventually it becomes bankrupt and they don't have to buy the shares back. So it's a very, very profitable way to wreck a company. But Bed Bath & Beyond, which was, employed Boston Consulting Group, it fits the whole pattern. They went bankrupt last October, about a year ago. And there have been a lot of rumors. People are seeing the ticker reappear briefly in their trading programs, and they're still around in Canada. And there's another subreddit called Teddy. So Ryan Cohen's father's name was Teddy, and Ryan Cohen wrote 5 children's books. He said he wanted to be the book king. And this was during the DRS movement, where we were figuring out that they wouldn't be able to locate and borrow our shares if we moved them out of the DTCC, if we directly registered them with ComputerShare. And there was a whole bunch of memes from Ryan Cohen where we divined that meeting. I mean, there's the computer toilet seat thing. And so we figured out ComputerShare. We started DRSing our shares, but by default, when you put your shares in there, they're in a DRIP program, a dividend reinvestment program. And when they're in that program, they can still be located, and therefore, theoretically, they can be borrowed against or used for locates on a short. So to get them out of the DRIP program, you need to book them in your name, which means you don't get residual income in the form of fractional shares on your holdings there, but they are safe from being located, and they're in your name. You appear as a stockholder in the rolls. So did he want to be the book king with these 5 terrible children's books, or was that just another cryptic volume of DD on paper? And so I bought these books and I read them to my kids, and my kids are like, "Oh, Dad, really? Do we have to?" They're terrible. There's the grandpa, which I think represents Ryan Cohen's dad, and the king's names are Kingston and Princeton, and he goes to China, and they have Thanksgiving, and they do all these different things, but they have things in the background that kind of paint a picture for the guy with the tinfoil hat and the corkboard. That type of mindset. And so the theory is that companies that have been seller boxed are going to come back like zombies. And when they get on the market again, those shorts are going to have to cover their position or close their position.
Hey, holy cow. Look at the ROI on your book purchase.
What? How did I miss this? $140.
So Dan, you should sell that book. Like, you made out like a bandit on that one. Would you buy it for like $5-10? Now you can sell it for 140.
Yeah, there's a set of 5. Is that just one, or is that all of them?
That's just one of them.
I think it's just one. And look, it's not even in good condition. It's in very good condition. It's not mint or anything.
Mine are mint. I got 5, all 5.
We have found the true GameStop.
This is how you really make money on this stock. You buy the merch. I wonder how much Stonks on the Moon goes for.
GameStop is actually a marketing ploy by Ryan Cohen. Books.
Okay, so these are the books. You've read these books, and there's all these coded messages in here, and you were able, or like some folks sussed out what the coded messages in this isn't. So Teddy is the umbrella company. Is that what's
I
happening?
can't point to a single post-it note on the board or a single piece of yarn, but yeah, between these books and the DD and the various subreddits, and so a lot of people know about Super Stonk. There's also GME. There's Pro GME. There's one called Teddy, which represents this G America concept, which they were floating around for a while. I think what's happening, I think what the play is that GameStop or Gameshire Stopaway or whatever you want to call it is positioning itself to become a competitor to Amazon by having Sears and Blockbuster and some of these Toys R Us, some of these other companies that have become extinct, revitalizing Bed Bath and Beyond to provide all the things that Amazon is currently selling us. That's it in a nutshell.
So, question: you keep using the phrase DD. What is? I'm assuming you mean compromise of some sort. What does DD stand for?
I'm sorry. Yeah, by DD I mean due diligence, but I say that with air quotes because it includes a lot of tinfoil.
Oh, I actually thought it was like dirt. But due diligence. Okay. Well, so, and you mentioned also earlier a management consulting firm that was associated with Bain Capital. What was it? Boston Analytics or
Boston Consulting Group, BCG. In fact, there was a tweet. Was it Ryan Cohen had the tweet where he's like, "Oh, I got something in my shoe, like some poop," and he pulled it off with a stick, and it was the BCG logo on the bottom of his shoe.
Are you familiar with like the broader narrative with regards to management consulting? Yeah,
As far as, well, I mean, he's tweeted about overpaid execs, and this was, I think, one of them. This is back when he was an activist investor, but he didn't have a board seat and he wasn't the CEO yet. Furlong, I think, was CEO at the time when they were still doing business. And Boston Consulting Group had the nerve to sue GameStop for not following their crappy advice. They lost.
well, and the way that I see management consulting is groups that a board, a CEO pays to give advice that would be against or morally dubious advice. But in the history of management consulting, you have the wells like McKinsey, but they start as I mean, in my mind, they start with Rand, the Rand Corporation. And Rand,
Well, but these guys famously, like the Boston Consulting Group, have been tied to a majority of these bankruptcies and these different, putting brick and mortar retailers out of business. So,
well, absolutely. And but if you're going to start putting, if you're going to start, I don't know, getting rid of jobs, changing the identity of a company, it's best to bring in a management consulting group that tells you to do these sometimes nefarious things to give advice that's not going to be popular.
Well, right, but I mean, I think you're speaking in it in generalities, but like this particular one just seems like it's connected to half of the shenanigans and really bad stuff that's happened over time. And so when Dan was talking about there are these companies that have been seller boxed and whatever, most of them have been destroyed by Boston Consulting Group and Bain Capital and these private equity firms that have come in and done this. And so the idea here is that all the companies that have been destroyed in this fashion or that are pseudo destroyed, they can be resurrected like vampire companies. Is that the idea?
Or zombies, yeah.
Zombie?
Because if they pop back up on the market, then all those shares that have been borrowed have to be repurchased and returned to their owners. And that's where I see this as being.
And is that in this one, this theories assessing the potential, or like what? So this was like another thing that you had shared, right? So this one's talking about other stuff, or is this what was detailed in this here post?
I'm not sure if it's in that post. I can't. I'm joined on my phone. I can't really see your screen very well. But...
So this was the one where it's talking about the different book entry securities, S3 form.
Yeah.
Maybe this wasn't the one about the seller boxing.
Yeah, I've looked for a lot of my links, and some of them have just gone away over time. Maybe I should have collected a library. There's like 200 and almost 300 of them in super stonks, and people are collecting them in other places too. I'll see if I can find some of that.
So the reason while you're talking about this and going back to the book Teddy and Jerry, the reason that caught my eye was because management consulting goes straight back to the State Department. You know, the Rand Corporation was started by Robert McNamara. Robert McNamara was the big data guy who was on the National Security Council for Henry Kissinger. And whenever you start thinking about, oh, if the State Department wants to control American business and what is profitable and what is successful in America and also throughout the rest of the world, as it is establishing markets for businesses to be engaging in all across the world, then the way to do that is to start to give advice to companies and also, you know, reward them with money from the federal government in contracts. So when I saw Teddy and Jerry, I thought of our special relationship with Jerry, with the UK, and Teddy, thinking of Teddy Roosevelt and his.
What is Jerry in the UK? I'm not familiar with that reference.
Jerry isn't that what they call their soldiers? They're Jerry.
Boy.
Jerry is certainly something that we it means, I don't know, somebody friendly or possibly the soldiers, just like GI. Maybe that's
Jerry's what they called the Germans during World War II.
Is that what it was?
Yeah.
Well, either way, who is Teddy? Teddy Roosevelt, the man who starts the globalist the globalist empire of the United States with his speak softly and carry a big stick,
right?
International policy.
I think in this context, though, Teddy means Ryan Cohen's father.
Well, Teddy, I bet.
Yeah, I looked this one up. The term Jerry was a derogatory nickname used by the British and Allied forces to refer to German soldiers during World War I. It originated as a mocking reference to the German name Gerhard or Jerry, which was a common German name at the time.
Well, pin it on the board and tie some yarn to it because it means something there. Or he would not have chose Jerry. Ryan Cohen has to be aware of some of these associations with both Teddy and Jerry. And he's not going to be leaning on just his father. He's going to be playing with multiple ideas behind them. And in the business that he is in, tackling private equity and management consulting, he's got to know of that deep history and state connections that they rely on.
So Boston Consulting Group sued GameStop for $30 million for failure to pay them for the bad advice back in March of 2022. So there'll be some good tweets from Ryan Cohen around that time as well. So if this latest thing that's happening right now causes the price to go up and we see another ATM and more shares are issued, I think, there's going to be people complain about it and it may cause the price to go back down. I've been taking a little haircut on my IRA. I've got a lot of shares in my IRA. And when it goes up a lot, I'll sell 10, 15%, wait for it to get pushed back down. Oh, good news is coming. That means it's going to be a dip. And then I'll buy more shares. And when things are trading flat, I've been selling slightly out of the money or even in the money calls with very low theta, like a week out.
And this is just what you're doing. You're not actually like advising anybody.
Oh, no, this is not financial advice. I am a crayon eating regard and definitely do not do what I'm doing because it finally bit me in the butt. I've been doing very well while things were trading sideways, and I've used these premiums I've been collecting to buy more shares. Well, foolishly, I sold some in the money or slightly out of the money calls last Monday, and then some action happened, and I had to pay 3 times what I collected to get them, to close those contracts by Friday.
This was the 92 million. So the 92 million that happened on 9/20. That nobody identified that ahead of time. That was when it actually happened. Then people started sussing out what might have happened with the $92 million purchase.
Yep, I noticed I was in trouble Friday morning, and then I saw that, and I'm like, oh, I got to close these at any cost, because I didn't want to lose more shares. I had actually most of my shares at risk um, to be lost that afternoon um, in the IRA. I mean, I still have my shares booked. The infinity pool shares. That's another theory. I don't know if you guys have talked about the infinity pool, but these are shares that are going to be like Coca-Cola shares from the 1920s or whenever they were on paper. Those shares have split how many times, or old AT&T shares that are worth a fortune if you had some, because they've split and so many times. So these are my infinity pool shares. Those are safe. They always have been. I've got some in a Roth. Those are safe, and any gains will be tax free.
Yeah,
But
so the idea here with all these at the money offerings, right?
yeah,
Maybe this is a good time to go through this one. So the idea here is that GameStop may be going through a cycle just like what Tesla did. And Tesla, we've referenced this, we've talked about it whenever we've talked about GameStop, but I think this summarizes it pretty well. Is that Tesla was shorted in a similar fashion, and I think Bill Gates famously shorted Tesla. But Tesla did all of this share issuance, and essentially it made Tesla into a successful company. Now, the thing that I have argued against that is different here is that Tesla is making and shipping cars, and so okay, if GameStop's going to go along the same line, like what car is it going to make? So reading along through this one, the idea is that they are going to become like the premier retailer. So like even though they're closing a bunch of stores or they're going to do it online, fill us in on like exactly what's being talked about here. So they're comparing it to Tesla here, and then this idea that it's going to bring back these seller box companies, and that now GameStop is going to become the next big company.
I think that's what we're building towards quietly. I think that's a valid theory, because GameStop, if you read the FUD news, they're talking about how they keep closing stores and how it's a dying brick and mortar business, but they're closing stores that are unprofitable. I mean, I live in the Minneapolis Twin Cities area, and there's a bunch of GameStops here, and some of them you go into and there's nothing going on there. So I can see why they might want to downsize a little bit. And then there's the premier stores, like the one they opened in Milan that was state of the art in Italy. It's just walls of LCDs everywhere, and they're showing you what the future of gaming is going to be like. And I don't know if they could ever partner with somebody like Valve. If they could, that'd be amazing, because then they'd have the digital end as well. Even if they just sold gift cards, it would help. But yeah, these distribution centers are the other key thing. They've kind of taken the FedEx approach of like, where can we place our distribution centers where we can get the fastest delivery times to almost everyone. And I think they've opened 2 major warehouses, a good start. And if you try to buy anything on their site, you can pick it up at the store, or they can have it shipped right to your house. Delivery times are fast, like not quite same day Amazon fast, but 1 or 2 day Amazon fast, which wasn't that long ago. I think they're building towards that kind of a model. And considering how people feel about Amazon, how they treat their employees, how they exploit everybody, how they let you sell on their store until they recognize that you have something good, and then they start competing directly with you and forcing you out of the business. I don't think anybody will be sad to see Amazon lose business and market share, except their investors.
So this is the Milan story with all this crazy
Oh, I
LCDs.
think I might have touched on 3 different pieces of tinfoil there, but yeah.
No, that's okay. I
There's
mean, I'm just like
one.
checking out
Yep,
the Milan story. This is kind
yep.
of neat.
It's a beautiful store. So that's the idea, is have some of those in every major area, and then also a gaming community center. So you can go there, play games with other people, meet people, make friends. That's another concept. I think I saw some Texas stores were built out that way, where they had um, lots of chairs and monitors, and you could do multiplayer gaming with people in the same room and compete with other leagues and other centers. They're trying to reinvent themselves, and They've got several good ideas I think could take hold. But the whole
and with the idea of ratcheting up the floor price. So I think we've also had some news from Cramer, who famously has been right if you invert his advice, right? So he said that GameStop is an overpriced SPAC, right? So the SPACs are these special purpose acquisition companies where people would pool a bunch of money together, and then instead of having to go public, you could acquire something and then that would become public because the SPAC was public, and so you could avoid having to go public. And I think that there were a whole bunch that did that. I think in the last few years, and most of them went famously bad. So this is Cramer saying GameStop is not doing the right thing, which is probably the invert, right? So if he's saying they did something wrong, then they probably did something right because he calls it wrong every time.
Yeah, Inverse Cramer is a good account to follow. And yeah, somebody posted links to Cramer's talking about GameStop being overpriced SPAC, and the heading was confirmation or theory confirmed, Inverse Cramer. So yeah, he's definitely famous for saying, hey, Bear Stearns is fine. You're safe with Bear Stearns right before the financial crisis of 2008. But the other reason I think that this is going to be a slow ass MOASS is because if we allowed the MOASS to happen, if they allowed the MOASS to happen the way it was going to happen when they took away that buy button on Robinhood and the other trading companies that didn't actually have the shares, it was going to crash the economy. It was going to basically destroy the economy. I don't know if you've seen those graphics where they have the red and the green and all the companies by market cap and volume in a big square, and they show GameStop as kind of like a black hole just absorbing everything. That's kind of the mindset there. Like if this had been allowed to have true price discovery with no controls, it could have crashed a lot of things. So the last 3 years, what's been happening? Roaring Kitty was quiet for 3 years after testifying to Congress. The last thing he did is he said, yeah, I think the price is fair, even at, what was it, $50 a share then, pre-split? And he doubled down and he posted his final update, and then he's quiet for 3 years. And Ryan Cohen keeps his cards close to his vest too. Well, what's changed in the market, in Wall Street, in trading? Well, the CATs, the Consolidated Audit Trail, which Citadel fought against and has been complaining that they have to pay for. That got implemented in May, I believe. And so now we know who is selling what and who's shorting what. Yeah, there we go. GameStop, the singularity. And it's interesting to see when the market is down, GameStop is almost always up. It's very interesting to see how it correlates. But anyway, I think what's happening here is this slow, controlled MOASS is a way to allow for balance to be restored, for GameStop investors to be rewarded, for Citadel and the other short sellers who have billions of assets not yet purchased, for balance to occur without crashing the economy. If it happens slow enough, people can adjust.
Yeah, because essentially how this theory goes is a bunch of shorts were opened and there's no way for them to close. But what could happen, and what seems to be happening, is there was an amendment to the GameStop charter that said 1 billion more shares could be issued.
1 billion total.
Yep, 1 billion in total. And so Ryan Cohen can keep scraping money out of these guys that have tried to destroy GameStop by continuously issuing shares over time. And I don't even know if 1 billion shares would let them off the hook. Like some people, I think, have theorized that something on the order of 5 billion shares have been sold that need to be repurchased. And so even this billion shares leaves 4 billion something shares to still that need to be closed out. So the billion shares that could be sold at the money would just keep adding to the coffers of GameStop. And if they do smart things with that money, then it keeps ratcheting up the total value that's inherent within the stock. Because if you look at the price of the stock right now, let's say it's $22. I think that's actually what it's trading at. $11 of that is cash they have on hand. So half the value of GameStop is actually being held in cash. And so if this is some kind of a SPAC vehicle and they can do investments, which the charter also allows, then they can start acquiring companies and putting that money to work and doing whatever to actually start increasing the value of the company. And so now it's sort of becoming a self-fulfilling prophecy, just like what happened with NVIDIA and with Tesla, right? Is that?
Yeah. And they recently became their own bank for all intents and purposes. They exited that financing agreement that they were in that restricted their abilities significantly and limited their credit to like 250 million at some interest rate and they had to give a heads up to Wells Fargo and Bank of America before they did any significant strategic moves. They exited that agreement. They terminated it over a year early with notice. And with all the cash they have on hand now, they don't have to telegraph their moves to any of the banks that are also financing these short sellers. And some of these banks are short sellers, is my understanding. So things are getting interesting.
You know, you mentioned telegraph their moves, and part of something I talked earlier about Boston Consulting Group and management consulting's relationship with private equity. Part of the advantage that private equity has is with regards to disclosure. I mean, what is private equity? But it is it's piggybacking on the looser disclosure laws that the Small Business Act of 1953 establishes for groups of people who get together and want to pool their money. You also mentioned Bear Stearns and when you were talking about Cramer, and I think a lot about both Bear Stearns and Lehman and what happened in 2008 and what our expectations are with too big to fail today. I mean, maybe GameStop is trying to become too big to fail. Maybe they are expecting a big change in our concepts of commerce and business, because for quite some time we've seen a growth of Valve, the Apple Store, some of Amazon, these online platforms. But
well, that's the criticisms, right? I mean, the criticism is that GameStop has been out here for a significant amount of time. They haven't really told anybody what they're doing. It's not obvious what their plans are. This is all the stuff that we ran down last time, and I think these criticisms are well leveled against GameStop. But if some of the stuff that we're talking about today actually comes to the fore, well, that puts a strong distinction on, you know, GameStop being the next thing. I think there's some interesting exploration of those ideas. But Lucas, what do you think? I mean, are we really going to start using GameStop as the everything app to buy all kinds of different products, and are they challenging to Amazon?
If I were in GameStop, I would be thinking more about the devolution of global commerce networks. Look at what we've seen happening internationally recently, even going back to Huawei, the break with China, the Trump's talk of tariffs, the realization of the security the security flaws of networking, both with CrowdStrike, with communication devices in Lebanon. I think we might be looking. I'm also going back to the associations with management consulting and State Department and state security. There might be we might be seeing a reward for companies who are looking for like air gap sneaker nets or smaller nets. And you know, when I think about what the difference between getting something on Valve and the monetization, turning all those things off and on, or buying something that was transferred on a diskette, there's also the anonymity concept. There's a when you buy something that's tied to your account online, that's directly traceable to you. There's also the long sticky strings that stay tied to that. Whenever something gets shipped to a store and any random person can go in there and buy it, that's a different sort of tracking that is put there, and a possibility for breaking it.
So Dan, what do we got on this picture? This is another thing you thought we should take a look at. Is that Carl Icahn? Is that who that is?
Yeah, he's famous for doing some activist investing and making a lot of money. I forget which airline it was. Was it Delta, or I'm sorry, Northwest? Anyway, in this picture, if you expand the photo, he's wearing shorts, and some people think that's a coded thing. He's also looking to hire, if you look at Ryan Cohen's recent posts, he's looking to hire top candidates in very specific, so strong engineers with cloud, Java, web experience, working operators with experience in retail and supply chain. He's looking for mobile app developers with intense work ethics, strong engineers with cloud, Java, and web experience, best US-based product and graphic designers, and omni-channel engineering to lead dev teams in Dallas, and a hardcore Salesforce Commerce Cloud engineer. These are all recent posts. Thanks, Mike. So there's definitely something being built, and they're not tipping their hand to anybody. And I was going somewhere with this too. A couple of years ago, we were talking about the NFT market, and this plays back into what you were saying, Lucas, about a lot of people still prefer to buy physical video games. I know I do. I don't mind having downloaded updates for them, and patches, fixes, especially the online version of the game, but I still have a physical copy of Diablo, and I haven't got rid of it, even though I don't have a PC anymore. There's a nostalgia value there that you don't get with zeros and ones on a computer.
Well, it also enables a resale, and it's something that can't be taken from you. I think we've seen that a lot of the digital acquisitions that people have done, they suddenly find that what they purchased is no longer there, and it says, well, the licensing or this, that, or the other thing has, removed this from your account. And it's like, I thought I bought this. Like, what's going on here? But that can't happen if you actually buy the physical media. And we're on the cusp of a refresh. I think Nintendo said they're coming out with a new console, so there's a little bit of wind in the sails for GameStop there. And I think the PlayStation 5 is on a refresh as well, right? They just came out with their Pro version.
Yep.
Well, and add on to that what we've talked about with regards to the selling economy, to the carbon market, and think of NFTs as digital receipts. Perhaps there's a future in open markets and being able to sell things, and I don't know, GameStop, like a physical GameStop store, not only becomes a place for social engagement, but like true social engagement, not an endless scroll, but also a place where you go and you can sell and use, say, blockchain technology, NFTs, et cetera, and that open market for that to occur. Perhaps they're looking at that as being...
Well, there's the GameStop NFT marketplace that we thought was going to be this new thing where you could buy a digital game and then resell it, and that was going to be based on Ethereum and Loopring. And I was very disappointed by that, being a big fan of Chia and having bought all that storage and equipment to farm Chia. I thought Chia was a much better fit. I've never been a fan of Ethereum. And then all that kind of got blown up with FTX, which, get out the tinfoil and the yarn and the crazy eyes again. But FTX, so you got ties back into Congress and the Senate, and you've got ties into Citadel and Sam SBF. He donated to a bunch of politicians that didn't really want to throw the book at him or even investigate until they had to. There was also counterfeit GME shares flushed through there. The GME coin was shorted, and somehow that correlated to the price in the market of the stock. But I think a real NFT marketplace, and this, I was really disappointed that GameStop and Ryan Cohen haven't done this yet, or they don't know about it, or I don't know what's going on here. But I thought that this would have been the perfect application of the Chia blockchain and data layer, and the price of the coin and the low cost of transactions would have been a perfect fit. But sadly, that hasn't happened yet.
Well, I agree with you with regards to FTX. I felt like the associations with the banking committees, the House Banking Committee, etc., they were, I don't want to say groomed, but there was a close association there. And so expectations fell through, but also with regards to Chia, Ethereum, and other blockchains, I don't know if they were quite ready, but it's been over a year, almost 2 years, and things are looking a little bit differently. So maybe that begins to happen. Maybe that begins to get rolled out. We are getting getting a little bit over, time to roll in.
Yeah, we're wrapping. I think that this is an interesting time again to take another look at what's happening with GameStop. Apparently, there's things that may be occurring within the next 30 something days. So watch for International Cat Day. Who knows what's going to go on with that $92 million share purchase? Exactly how that's going to get settled and closed, and what's supposed to happen there. But there's enough new things that are occurring with the consolidated tracking system and all the rest of the new things that are in place that we could see some wild things from GameStop in the next few weeks, a month. So we'll keep an eye on it.
Before we close it out, a question that's been lingering on my mind since we opened and spoke of Dan is Charlie. If we are in It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia here, who am I? I'm afraid I might be D, but I'd like to be Frank.
I kind of wish I'd watched that show. This is the same show where you got Danny DeVito, and then I was like, pow, 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 right? Or is that?
Oh, I don't remember it. That I don't remember the specifics that much, but I do love It's Always Sunny.
I'm sorry. I'll have to watch that. And thanks for letting me talk with you guys today. I really had a good time, and this is a really fun topic for me. So.
Right on. Thanks for joining us. All right,
Yeah.
and we'll see you guys tomorrow on FoMO.